Good morning, Virgo. Forever is not a word this person uses carelessly. That's the first thing I need you to understand before the details, before the depth of what's been moving through their mind, before I tell you exactly what they've been thinking and feeling and privately building in the interior of themselves around the idea of you. You need to understand the weight of this word coming from this particular person. They are not given to grand declarations. They do not traffic in romantic hyperbole or the inflated language of people who say enormous things easily because enormous things cost them nothing. When they speak, when they really speak, from the place beneath the social performance of ordinary conversation, every word has been earned before it's offered, weighed, considered, released only when they are certain of it. They are certain of this. The word forever has been living in them in relation to you, not as fantasy, not as a comfortable imagining of someone entertaining a pleasant possibility, but as something that has arrived at the particular settled quality of a decision already made, quietly, without announcement, in the private way of this person who processes everything significant in the interior before it ever sees the surface. They want forever with you, and they have wanted it for longer than you know. Let me tell you about the mind this reading is being asked to open, because what's in there is rich and layered and specific, and you deserve the full landscape of it rather than a summary. There is a quality of vision in how they think about you that goes beyond the immediate, beyond the current chapter of what exists between you, beyond the texture of your interactions as they exist right now, beyond even the most obvious next steps of whatever form your dynamic currently takes. They think in futures. Specifically, they think in futures that contain you, not as backdrop, not as the general warmth of an imagined life where love exists somewhere in the composition, as the specific, named, irreplaceable presence. They've been building scenarios. The mind does this automatically once it has decided something, and in every version of the future they construct, in every possible iteration of what their life looks like 5 years forward, 10 years forward, the unspecified distance of a life fully lived, you are in them, not as one of several possibilities, as the given, as the constant around which the rest of the variables arrange themselves. This happened without them deciding to let it happen. That's what they find both extraordinary and occasionally slightly terrifying. I want to go through what's actually on their mind methodically, layer by layer, because your spirit team has granted unusual access to this reading, and I want to honor that by being as precise as possible. The first thing living in their mind is gratitude, not the polite, surface level gratitude of someone acknowledging a kind gesture. The deep, almost disorienting gratitude of someone who has spent enough time navigating a world that often felt slightly misaligned relationships that required too much performance, connections that were real but not quite right, versions of closeness that were warm but somehow insufficient, and then found in you the thing they had been calibrated for without knowing they were calibrated. You fit something in them that didn't have a name before you filled it, and they are grateful in the specific, private, sometimes overwhelming way of someone who understands from experience how rare that is. Who knows? Because they've been in enough relationships that were almost but not quite that what they have with you is not the ordinary thing. That the ease of it, the depth of it, the feeling of being more themselves in your presence rather than less is not something that arrives for everyone or arrives more than once for anyone. They are grateful for you with the particular reverence of someone who understands what it means to have found the real thing. The second thing on their mind is protection, but not protection in the anxious, controlling sense, not the kind that comes from fear of losing and expresses itself as management. This is something more elemental, more instinctive. The particular kind of protectiveness that arises not from possession, but from love, so specific that the idea of you experiencing unnecessary pain registers in their body as something close to physical. They think about your history, not obsessively. They're not a person given to obsession, but with the returning, careful attention of someone who has been given access to the parts of you that were hard, the chapters you don't hand to everyone, the weight of what you've navigated before they arrived, and who holds that knowledge with a tenderness that has quietly organized itself into a kind of private vow. The vow is something like, not on my watch, not perfectly expressible in language, more a quality of orientation, the way they position themselves in relation to you and the world, the way they notice things approaching before you do, the way they make small adjustments that cost them nothing but change your experience of a situation entirely. They've been making those adjustments without narrating them because that's not why they make them. They make them because keeping things from unnecessarily reaching you has become one of the quiet purposes they've assigned themselves in relation to your life. That is not casual affection. That is someone who has decided you matter at the level of things they organize their life around. The third thing on their mind, and this one they've been sitting with most actively, turning over most frequently, approaching from different angles in the private hours, is timing. They want to say something, multiple somethings, actually. The full articulation of what they feel, what they want, what they've been imagining and planning and hoping for in the interior of themselves where the forever thinking has been living. They want to bring it from the inside to the outside, to hand it to you in the form of actual words, actual conversation, the actual experience of being looked at by this person and hearing them say, "This is what you are to me. This is what I want. This is the shape of the life I've been imagining, and you are in every version of it." They want that conversation. They've been wanting it for a while. What they're working through with the characteristic care of someone who does not do significant things casually is the how of it, the when, the particular conditions that would allow the thing to be said in a way that honors its full weight. They're not stalling. They're not hesitating from fear in the way that fear produces avoidance. They're moving toward it with the deliberate, considered pace of someone for whom saying the real thing in the right way matters as much as saying the real thing at all. The conversation is coming. It is already forming. Something your spirit team is showing me now, and I want to pause on this because it's arriving with particular clarity. This person sees your future children or your shared home or the specific geography of a life built together. And I want to hold this gently because it arrives in different forms for different people. But what I keep seeing is the domestic, ordinary, unglamorous detail of a life that is shared, not the highlight reel version, the Tuesday version, the morning version of you that they have imagined and found in the imagining completely wanted. The way you'd move through a shared space, the rhythm of two people who have learned each other's needs and preferences, and the specific way each of them takes up space in the morning before either is fully awake, the particular kind of comfort that only exists between two people who have decided consciously and completely that they have chosen each other not for the best days, but for the full range of them. They want the full range of you, not the composed, curated company version, the one who is tired sometimes, the one who has opinions about small things, the one who carries the history they know about and holds it differently depending on the day, the one who is in the unremarkable privacy of an ordinary life, completely and unreservedly herself. That version, especially that version. They have been imagining Tuesday mornings with that version of you and finding the imagining so natural, so right, so utterly devoid of any quality of forced or effortful that it has become difficult to remember a time when the future didn't contain you in it. I want to speak to something that has been underneath all of this, running like a current beneath everything else in their mind. And it's the thing your spirit team most wanted me to surface today because it is perhaps the most important thing for you to understand about where this person actually stands. They are not waiting to be sure, they are already sure. What they're waiting for, the thing that holds the conversation just inside the threshold of expression rather than across it, is not their own certainty. Their certainty arrived some time ago, settled in them quietly and completely, and has not wobbled since. What they're waiting for, in the careful, attentive, completely loving way of someone who does not want to get this wrong, is a sense of the ground on your side. They don't want to overwhelm you. They know because they pay the kind of attention to you that sees the full person rather than the surface that you have been through, enough that moving fast in the direction of something large can feel unsafe even when the something large is genuinely good. They know your nervous system has its own history of learning to be cautious about the things it most wants. They know that the version of you most worth loving is also the version most worth being careful with. So they've been careful, measured, patient in the particular way of someone who is not patient by nature, but who has chosen patience because you are worth choosing it for. And they are ready, have been ready to have the conversation that names everything the moment they feel certain the ground is steady enough on both sides to hold it. Virgo, what I need you to hear now from your spirit team, from this reading, from the full weight of everything that has been surfacing today, the ground is steady enough. On both sides, you have done the work of stabilizing yourself through everything you've navigated, through the seasons that tested you and the ones that rebuilt you, through the quiet, unglamorous, completely private labor of healing that you've been engaged in for longer than anyone fully knows. You have arrived somewhere solid, somewhere real, somewhere that can hold the weight of something genuine without collapsing under it. You are ready for this. Not perfectly ready. No one arrives at love perfectly ready, and perfection was never the point. Ready in the real sense, the available, open, genuinely present in your own life sense. The I have done enough of my own work to show up for something real sense. And this person, with their private vow, their forward facing imagination, their gratitude and their protectiveness, and their enormous, settled, already made certainty this person is ready too. You are two people who are ready at the same time. Your spirit team needs you to understand how rare that is, how deliberately that has been tended, how much of what has happened, the timing of things, the clearing of certain paths, the arrival of certain understandings in both of you at roughly the same moment has been oriented toward exactly this convergence. This is not an accident. This is not coincidence, wearing the clothes of something meaningful. This is the thing your spirit team has been working toward for both of you. Here is what is on their mind when they think of you distilled to its most essential, offered directly, without decoration. They think, this is the person, not this is a person I love, though that too, not this is a relationship worth investing in, though certainly that. The more absolute version, the version that doesn't leave room for qualification or the maintenance of alternative possibilities in the background. This is the person, the one they didn't entirely believe existed until you made the belief unavoidable. The one that retroactively made sense of every previous relationship that didn't quite fit because the previous ones weren't failures of love, but simply practice in the specific vocabulary of intimacy that they would eventually need to speak with you. The one that made the word forever feel not like a weight, but like the only accurate word for what they want. They think about your laugh. The specific one, not the social laugh, not the performed delight, but the one that arrives when something catches you genuinely off guard and your whole face changes in a way you're not managing. They think about the way you think, the precision of it, the depth of it, the quality of your mind in conversation that makes them feel more alive to their own thinking. They think about the future every day, with you in it every time. Before I close this reading, there is one final thing your spirit team is asking me to give you. Not a prediction, not a directive, a simple, clear piece of truth delivered with the full love of those who have been walking beside you through every version of your story. You deserve the forever someone is thinking about you in, not a version of it, not an approximation, not the nearly but not quite that you've accepted at various points along the way because the real thing seemed like too much to hope for, too large to claim, too good to be something you were actually allowed to have. The full version, the one with the Tuesday mornings and the private vow and the gratitude that moves them every time they look at you and remember what it felt like before you existed in their life. The one with the future already being built in someone's mind with your name written into every room of it. That version, it is not too much. It has your name on it. And the person it belongs to is already thinking of you. Right now, as you listen to this, thinking of you. Something about this reading carries a particular kind of weight, the specific gravity of a truth you've perhaps needed to hear for a while. If it reached you today, if something in it named what you've been hoping was real, I'd love to know in the comments. Leave whatever feels true, just that. I'll meet you there.